Hello, everybody. I'm Frank Vaganée. I'm the artistic director of Brussels Jazz Orchestra, and I would like to welcome you to the third and last episode of our live streaming session from paper to stage. I'll take you through the creation process from a blank sheet of paper to the final performance on stage, and you will see how I deal with the arranging process. Some topics of this journey will be more technical, I guess, but I'm sure that there will be enough to take away for everyone. So a little bit to fresh up your memory, in the former two episodes, I was talking about writing an arrangement based on a song written by the French poet and singer Serge Gainsbourg. And the song is called Je suis venu te dire que je m'en vais. And that's a classic song released in 1973. And that song will be part of a brand new concert program that Brussels Jazz Orchestra is developing and will premiere next season, and is in collaboration with a French jazz vocalist, Camille Berthaud. The original version has a simple regular beat at a tempo of 150 beats per minute. And this song is written by using the AABA song form and has 32 bars, so 4 times 8 bars. The lyrics exist of 4 verses. And the song duration, the original song duration, is around 3 minutes 30. If you want to fresh up your memory later on, you can listen to the versions that I used in the previous episodes on our Facebook page. One by singer Naima Joris, and the other, the ballad version, a part of the arrangement by Vanessa Matthijs. So I invite you to visit the sites and listen to the melodies. So what I'm going to do tonight is I would like to talk a little bit about the orchestration of the arrangement. I won't go too much into the technical aspect of arranging because there's not much time, but I will explain some things by using the score. You will see, I will share my score now, and you will see the score from the top, from the very beginning here. Je suis venu te dire que je m'en vais. And so to start with this one, my arrangement is kind of finished. I'm sure that I will change some spots later on. I'm not sure yet. I have to listen to it. I have to think about it. I have to deliver this arrangement only next September. So I have some time to have some thoughts about that and maybe change something. But the overall idea is there, and the overall form of the piece is there. So let's start in the beginning with the intro, and that's the intro over here. And it's kind of slow intro. Well, it's in the same tempo. The tempo starts here. It's an even tempo style. It's not a swing beat, but an even beat. 144 beats per minute. Like I mentioned before, the original is around 150, but I like to have it a little bit slower because of the density of the arrangement itself. I mean, a lot of instruments playing quite some notes, so to have some to keep it understandable for everybody, for the musicians, but also for the public, to have some that everybody hears the arrangement in its full force. I had planned to slow down the tempo a little bit. So the beginning of the piece is about the trombones. They are completely beginning by their own. And if maybe you know that trombones are written in bass clef, like this one and this one, bass clef. But because the height of the melody here, it's easier to write down and to read in violin clef for that point. You see, from here on, it starts again in bass clef, but it's quite high for the trombones. But I want to have it really firm there and like a forte, so quite loud as far the dynamics go. So let's have a listen so you know what the meaning is of that intro. Okay, so that's the very first part of the intro. The intro exists of two parts, in fact. This one, those first 8 bars, and then it goes into a beat. The drums is playing a beat over here, and that's the second part of the intro. But maybe you could recognize already the very first main melody of the song. Je suis venu te dire que je m'en vais. It's this one. See, that's but I rearranged it and reharmonized the other voices below the first trombone. So you have a kind of different sound and a different atmosphere to it. So again, so that's the first thing. And then flutes, because the saxophones, most of them, they play also other reed instruments like doubles. They call it doubles. So in this case, the 2 alto players will also play the flute. So in this case, the trombones coming out of this strong melody, and then the flutes are responding to it in 2 voices. See, that's the answer. And then the 2 tenors and the barry are coming in afterwards together with the flutes. So that's the answer. And then the third answer, because it's really a question of asking, like this is the question, this is the answer, and there is like a second answer, another opinion of the other section, the trumpet section over here. So they have a kind of same melody. It's a little bit arranged and different, but it's you can feel, you can hear that it has to do the question. The answer is really like an answer to the question. You see, it stays in the same idea. So the trumpets are playing. I will ask them to play mezzo forte, although first trumpet is a B flat concert, because this score, by the way, is a concert score. So normally the trumpets and everybody who plays a transposed instrument, they will read it like this. So the trumpet plays at C, high C here on the trumpet, but it sounds like a B flat. For me, it works it's more easy to work with a concert score, because you have more, you can compare a little bit. It's easier and check even mistakes. Maybe for me, it's easier. Otherwise, a mistake is done really fast. So we come to that point where the trumpets are coming in. So that's the beginning of the second part of the intro, and you can see that this is really one tutti of all the instruments except for the 2 flutes. They're not playing here, but they play really the same rhythmic pattern. And the lead is played by the first trumpet, and the other ones are doubling octave lower or playing another voice of that moment of the chord. So, and they're going to that point where there's a different chord, a different harmonic situation here, and that's something that I added to it. I composed these 2 chords to have some connection between the first intro and the second intro going to the theme, I use this one, and it's like an A flat minor 11 and an A major 7 with an A flat in the bass, but it's just two chords, two notes, but it comes back through the arrangement. The first time is now, but through the arrangement it will come back a few times, sometimes same key, sometimes in another key, but the idea comes back. So you can see also here that the bass and they play like a beat here. So and the bass added to it. Yeah, and then the rhythm, full rhythm section. And it's repeated a few times. So to build up the whole second part of the intro to that point here. So at a certain point you have this long note, these two chords. At a certain I start building up to the point where it really goes to a higher point in the intro, to lay it down again, to start the theme. So okay, so it's like a cascade, but in reversed. You know, it's not going down from top downwards, but it's going from down below up to this high note for the trombones, and then you know the tenors are taking over, so they have this do 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 do, and then the tenors are coming in to take it, to develop it further on. Then altos, by the way, the flutes, they don't play flute anymore here, so they took their alto sax to join this cascade together with the trumpets, by the way. So if you hear this by itself, sax section. See, that's what the sax section is playing together with the five saxophones, and you can see that at a certain point trumpets are coming in. And then we have a theme. Okay, so first you have this tutti intro, then going back to mezzo piano, you know, decrescendo into the first theme. And the first theme, it's an AABA theme. So here, first AABA is only the singer and the rhythm section. So only drums, bass, piano, not even the guitar at this point. So we go on with the second A. And now guitar is coming in here. So you can see that guitar is coming in with this line. I mean, you can see that last A of the song, of the form, I changed it into another meter. It's a 7/4, 4/4 and 3/4 makes 7. So, and the guitar is playing this line. This line is also coming back through the arrangement, played, not only played by the guitar, but sometimes played by the trombones, sometimes played by the tenor saxophones, sometimes the trumpets. It depends on the situation at that moment. But this is one of the things that keep, at this way I have kind of unity in the arrangement. So we go back at the end. I added an extra bar because I wanted to have some relief there to before going into the second ABA, so the second verse. In this case, it's again the rhythm section, but guitar is really comping also at this point. So before, the guitar wasn't playing except for the last A. Now guitar is adding some rhythmic figure to the arrangement. But it's a part that you can't hear, by the way. It's written out just with cymbals and a rhythmic figure, but you can't hear it. So tenors are coming in now. Okay, so that's the full second verse. So you could hear and see that in the beginning the guitar is playing, so there is a different sound added to the first A, and then horns are coming in. Not everyone at the same time, but I started with the two tenors playing a unison line to have like a contrast to the melody line. And it goes on at a certain point. The altos are coming in also with a unison line, but it's contrapuntal, if you can call it like that, with the tenors at this point. Because the tenors, there's some movement here and the tenors are playing longer notes here. So it's something that I keep an eye on also, is when a certain section or a certain part of the orchestra has really like moving lines like this, not just static long notes, then I make sure that the other part of the orchestra or another part of a section plays more static things, and the other ones are playing more melodic, moving melodies. You can see that here too, because you have this moving melody of the altos against these long notes of the tenors, and then here you have these all long notes, and they are devised. I mean, it's voiced out, so every instrument has another voice, and it makes one chord and long notes. And that's why I gave the trumpets this moving line against those long notes. Let's see. I will show you how it works with the saxophones. Chords. You see, and the baritone is coming in when the moment that they play chords. So at that point, trumpets are coming in. Yeah, and maybe it gives you a wrong impression because it's a computer, and it's always it will always. I mean, a computer is not human, so it will be played. I asked them to play really soft, like a mezzo piano. This line should be more, maybe even flugelhorn. I'm not sure yet. Maybe it's nice to have it on a flugelhorn. I have to check if it's possible, because I mean, note-wise, it's possible, but the only thing is that at the end, they need to change really fast to trumpet, and they need the time to lay down their flugel and take the trumpet and prepare themselves to play. So maybe 3, 4 beats, 5 beats, it's not really enough to change from flugelhorn to trumpet to play these last 4 bars, because it goes especially for the trumpet, and I want to have this energy of the trumpet. So probably I'm gonna stay with the trumpets if I think about that now. But smooth played. Also the saxophones, it will be really smooth, like a subtone sound, more like, I mean, with subtone, I mean the saxophones, they play more like, and not a full sound, but more like a kind of dusty thing around the notes. And then going into I have these long notes for the quite low notes for the saxophones, and the trombones are playing here the first time a rhythmic figure that comes back in the arrangement too in sometimes, and that's this one. Okay, and this one is together with the trumpet. So the whole brass section plays this end. So that's the second verse, the arrangement of the second verse. Going into letter J, and you know, I thought I told you in the beginning, second part of the intro has these two chords that I composed I added to the arrangement to have a connection. Well, I used again this same figure. It's a different key, although, because I'm coming from another chord going into another tonality later on. So I used the same pattern, the same rhythmic pattern, but a different chord. Again, the cascade of the same cascade. Okay, so this one is, so we're coming to K. Suddenly there's like this subito mezzo piano. So suddenly it's quite soft, going into a very fast crescendo over 1 bar to the forte. And it's a tutti, you know, it's everybody's playing except for the first alto, because he's preparing himself to go in front of the orchestra to play a solo. But this is 8 bars to launch really the soloist in front of the band. So, and again, it's also an adaptation of the main melody. This is the first trumpet. See, it's the same head melody, but I changed the rhythmic pattern of it. Instead of on the beat, I let them play right after the beat. So you have some movement there, and it gives the opportunity, for example, for the drummer to fill in those gaps. And then going on again with the beat. So, and when there is these long notes again of the trombones, there's a moving line by the saxophones, the alto and the 2 tenors. The bari saxophone is playing the roots of the chord here. The chord, when the trombone's playing that chord, but there's no root, so the root is played by the baritone. Going into, you know, going crescendo to point here where a letter L the soloist gets all the freedom to start his solo. So once again, okay, and so now we have space, and I mean it's an improvised solo. There are some chords here, chords for the soloist to play on, and he has lots of space to develop his ideas and his solo in general, because it goes on through the complete verse of the piece. So also with the 7/4 bars, or 4/3/4. So he has to play on top of that. This is only the second time. Then there's a repetition. Yeah, when we go back to K, they're not playing this. The rhythm section is just playing those chords of the song, and so that's why it says first time only. Just play first time only. Second time you don't have to play it. It calls tacet, tacet. So do not play, just listen to the beautiful solo of the soloist. All right, so at a certain point at the end of the second verse, the saxophones are coming in to have some backings to the soloist. I mean, backings, a background. It's a way. It's not only the rhythm section who is backing up the soloist, but also the horns. They can play some lines to push, to give the soloist some push him in the back a little bit. So he has some energy to play with. And it starts here two bars before O, going into O, and you will hear again the main melody. From both. And the soloist is still playing. And it's soft, metal piano. Wow. So it's still soft. Some moving line here. Trumpets are added to it. So a little bit more. There's more things going on. So the soloist has to do his crescendo. Figure, but extended. The solo has more time to play some things going into the cuckoo-doom. The end of the solo. So that's the complete solo part. So in the beginning of the alto saxophonist's solo, he's really open to it because there is only the rhythm section playing. So it's like a quartet version, so there's nothing else than just the rhythm section and the soloist. At a certain point, I wrote some backgrounds starting with some long notes in chords voiced out for the saxophone section, going into O, and the trombones are playing some accents, and you can compare those pap pap beta, these things. You can compare it with the left hand of the piano player when he's comping and playing solo. When he's playing solo, and here he's doing his chords. So pick, okay. So that's what he's doing with his left hand. So that's what the trombones are doing. Replacing the piano player in a way, adding some rhythmic figures to it, and then even some moving lines for the trombones, going into this part of the bridges. That's the bridge of the verse. Trumpets are coming in, more energy, more sound, building up to the point at letter R, where it has really a lot of energy. Drums, I'll ask the drummer to fill in some little bit, so have some really interactive playing with the soloist who's in front playing, and then going into the third time, because it's repeated 3 times, going in the third time here, really to the very end of the solo part. And then it really stops very suddenly with an accent of the piano and the guitar, and then a low note of the low piano and the bass. So it's this one. And then it goes straight to a new part in the arrangement. First of all, we were in the key of F all the time during the solo, and we're modulating. There's a modulation going to another key, meaning D flat major, to have this complete new thing where the orchestra is featured with some moving lines. You will hear that. I will start with this last accent of the rhythm section. Okay, so it starts with the flugelhorns playing a quite low, but more like really diatonic melody, I guess. So flugelhorns, two flugelhorns, but also the singer is vocalizing the same line, the same melody. So it's like I added an extra color to that melody, not just the flugelhorns by itself, but mixed with the vocalizing voice. So I mean with vocalizing without words. So she will do something like something like that, with vowels and everything. So it has some sound and some jazzy thing around it. So so with this moving line, at a certain point, altos are coming in with some quite long notes. The two trumpets are taking it over, so a different sound. The flugelhorns, they have like a really soft, mellow sound. And going to the trumpets, we have a more like, well, penetrating is probably too much, but a different, more edgy sound. And the lower saxophone section, meaning tenors, bari, they play another contrapuntal line added to the trumpets line. And the trumpets are also doubled by the voice of the singer. What also very well works is the guitar playing in the same range as the tenor and the bari. It is a very nice blend at that point. It works very well. Okay, so that's the part where the orchestra is featured with not with lots of high accents and like typical big band things, but more with fluently lines fluently played, like very horizontal melodies to it. So, but the idea is that it develops because there are. In the beginning, it's two instruments playing, then four instruments, and then there is some trombone added to it, and then at a certain point, the altos playing a different melody against the two trumpets, and like this at letter U, altos are playing this, the two flugelhorns are playing this one, the trombones together with the lower saxes playing those long notes, so it gets fuller and fuller, and the more things are going on, and at the same time. The singer is singing along with, in this case, the third and fourth trumpet. And then at the last A of the verse, you have again the figure of the trombones, which I was explaining 15 minutes ago, I guess. So it gives some motion to it, forward motion to the moment in the arrangement. The trombones are playing this together with the left hand of the piano and the bass, and the drums is supporting that too. In the meantime, he's playing a beat too, so he has a lot to do at that point. And you can see also that the tenors are moving, and they play this they develop it all the time, going into everybody's playing tutti, these long notes to build up, you know, there's a crescendo sign to forte to this point again, and it's again a modulation to W, letter W, and that's a complete different moment in the arrangement, because there a kind of ballad starts. I had this idea when I started working on the song. I knew that this song was, I mean, Gainsbourg was inspired by a poem from the late 1800s from Paul Verlaine, Chanson d'automne, and he used that as an inspiration to the lyrics that he wrote for this piece. So I had this idea to use the poem in a kind of interludium, like a ballad, in between the first two verses of the song and the next verses 3 and 4 of the song. So in the middle there is this moment of contemplation, if you want to. So here it starts, because we're coming out of the energy of the orchestral tutti, so we're going into so that's the melody. I guess you heard that, and the words that you can read here is exactly are the words of the poem, and I composed new chords to support that melody. I mean, I had it's kind of looking for a chord and a melody note, a top note, and looking for a right way to have like a you know, when you have some expression in a note, and then having the solution to it, and the development of the melody is quite important, of course, and also in this case I have to keep in mind that it's going to be sung by a female vocalist, so I have to keep an eye on the range of the melody, the notes. It can be too low, it can be too high. It needs to be in the atmosphere of the piece itself, so it's quite a search. Okay, and maybe you recognized at this point, I use again that second part of the intro, the two chords, you know, it's the same chords, different key, but although keep different key, but same thing is going on here. You wouldn't say that because it's a completely different atmosphere. It's a completely beat also, because this is a 3/4 beat, slow 3/4 beat, and that's like an interlude in between the first melody and the next melody here. So, and I use the trombones here as a way to have this filled up with another sound. So I asked the trombones to play in a velvet mute. The sound on the computer is not really a velvet, but the meaning is that it's really a very warm, round, soft almost like a very low flugelhorn kind of, or even a French horn. It depends on the register of that moment. But when you hear this, okay, so that's in between, and then the trumpets are coming just to have this conclusion. Okay, and then we have the second part of the poem and the second part of the melody. And then I have this, the melody, she will sing again this melody with words. And I added some answers from the two flutes again, two flutes that were playing in the very beginning, the first intro. I use them again as an answer on the melody. And what I also try to do is not to be too much in the way of the words. So when the singer is pronouncing a word, I keep away from that moment and then add something when she will just sing the note, the following long note. Silence. Tenors, flugelhorns. Flutes are playing the same thing as guitar. Okay, and that's long notes, atmosphere, and I asked the guitar here to play some sounds and have some solistic things going on to add something to this atmosphere and to that moment of the sound of the chords. And the trombones are coming in, and that's the moment where it starts to build up again to the next part of the song. Okay, so the whole thing from this point on until here, it's like one big crescendo in a way. So it builds up, it goes back to the groove of the original arrangement in the beginning. You know, this is kind of slow tempo. It's half as fast as this one. So this is 144. Here it's 72. So when you start writing in 16 notes, it means you're preparing already the groove and the metric, how do you call it? You're preparing the new tempo. So, and that's what the brass is together with the barry. So this one and this one, they play the same thing. So, and the saxophones are adding some moving lines to it in unison, because that's also something that when there's a lot going on in voices, for instance, in the brass, then and the saxophones are playing a different melody, a different rhythmic figure, a moving line. It's most of the time better to keep it in unison. So what's happening here is, so we're going back to the original song. So the chords again are from the original song. And also I modulated again to D flat, so the original key, like I used in the beginning of the piece. Another thing is the saxophones are doing this solo together. So it's a solo in five voices, but it's 4 different notes and a double lead. Means that the first alto is playing the lead part, and in this case the second tenor is playing the same melody but an octave lower, and all the other notes are notes from the chord. It's a technique that we call like the drop 2 with a double lead technique. At the other hand, it's a very practical thing to do because the trumpets and all the brass, they were playing all the time in quite slow tempo and a lot of things and high and everything. So at a certain point, you need to give them some rest to prepare themselves for the next part. So it's good to, the saxophones, they don't have that problem really, because it's another way of producing sound. With the saxophone, the reed is trembling, so that makes the sound. And with the trumpets, they have their lips to produce the sound, and that's really exhausting. So you have to give them some time to relax and prepare themselves for the next part. So that's why I decided not to give anything to the brass section, just gave it to the saxophones, and then coming in with a complete tutti. Okay, so that's the 2 first A's of the 3rd verse. And you can see this is really like a big band thing. And it will be really like very dynamic wise played. So it will be really soft. It's difficult on a computer, but it will be very soft, and it will go crescendo and very, not really unison, but together, everybody playing like one voice, the complete orchestra, going into the bridge of the piece. But there, the bridge of the piece, the singer will will sing again with words the 3rd verse. So that's this one. Last page. Okay, so you can hear also that I talked about the line that the guitar was playing in the beginning of the arrangement. Well, here it comes back, played by the tenors. Same, all the guitars playing also, the piano is playing that one too. Trumpets are playing, flugelhorns are playing unison. No, sorry, the 2 first are playing unison together with the singer, and some other notes from the chord for the other 2 flugels. This that's typical for that progression, and I gave it to the trombones in unison. So, and at the end, it comes at the end of the 3rd voice. I added an extra bar again and a different harmony to lay it down again, and then going in something complete new, because another thing is when we went back into the bridge here with the singing again, I changed I modulated again to D major, so half step higher than before, going back to the original here, D flat. So, and I decided to have a completely different atmosphere and energy and everything after all these horns playing and the density of the arrangement, into just piano and vocal as a duo. So you have this. again. Long notes. It's a long, it's not too dense anymore, just a carpet of notes. Some answer of the flute again. So that's the end of the piece in a way, because that's the end of the fourth verse. So and the idea that I had was from the moment, you know, and the third voice, when everybody's playing and comping the singer, then the duo, and from that point it goes really all the way down. You know, the dynamics are going down, the energy is going down. It's not that I wanted to have a very big ending of the piece. It's just the opposite thing that I would like to look for. So it sounds now quite aggressive, but it isn't. It shouldn't be. I mean, it will be soft and yeah. I'm not sure about the right word in English, but it will really coming to conclude it really in a small, soft way. So JJ is the last A of the fourth verse, a different rhythmic pattern here of the bass trombone, the left hand of the piano, and the bass. So they play. So they play this. Wait, I will. See, that's what happens there. Again, that line of the guitar and the tenors and the bass. So, and then the end of the piece. Okay, and then we have the outro. So the outro, or coda, if you want, is more, yeah, is an adaptation of the intro, but it's a different key. It's softer because maybe you remember that I wanted to have the trombones playing very firm and quite loud in the beginning, and because it's also high for them. Now it's lower in the key, and so they can play softer, and that's what I would like to have. So the same thing again, different key, and also the singer is singing along with the last words of Je suis venu que tu m'en vais. That's what she's singing. And then ritenuto. So the very last note will be much longer, and it will be a little bit slower also in the real world, but it really closes down the whole thing, like the curtain the curtain is closing down. So so that's the whole idea of the arrangement. I'm sure we're gonna have some work during rehearsals to work on it, but if you have any questions, please ask. I'm really I mean, it's always interesting to have questions and go back to some of it in the score. If not, I don't know if there are really questions at this point. I don't see anything, I guess. So yeah, so this was, well, the last episode of this series, and I hope that you enjoyed it and that it gave you some new insights. I mean, it's arranging or orchestrating. It's a study. I mean, you need years to work on that. And I mean, this is just how do you call that? Some een tipje van de sluier. I don't know how you call it in English, but you can, well, if you're interested, you can watch all 3 episodes of From Paper to Stage, and also a closer talk, by the way, again through our Facebook page and YouTube channel. And of course, feel free to share all this. So, and also I invite you to subscribe to the BJO YouTube channel to stay informed on new videos by the orchestra. So thank you very much. Stay tuned. Take care and good night. Bye-bye. Dat kan niet, hè?